right. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'm sure you can hear me coming all the way from Lagos, Nigeria. So if you're joining us, I know some of you are joining us on LinkedIn, some of you are joining us on YouTube, on Instagram. So type wherever you're joining us, tell me where you're joining us from. Where in the world are you joining us from? I'm in Lagos, Nigeria right now, and we're going to be talking AI with you. So AI, we're not going to be building AI tools and stuff. We're just going to be talking about AI in Africa. So welcome to this webinar. This is the use cases, African business winning with AI. And so we want to kind of go deeper and understand, okay, how are African businesses using AI? What are all the interesting things happening around AI? And how can you personally and with your business leverage what's going on? And then what's left to do? What is left to do for Africa? What are the things that Africa is currently not doing? And what can we do about it? So to talk to me on that, we have two very special guests. We have Dr. Jeffrey Otoibi. He would tell me that I've messed up his name, so sorry. Jeffrey, you pronounce your name. And then we have my namesake, David. So David's very easy. David Okpari. And they are both AI consultants, very experienced AI consultants. And they're going to help us kind of break this whole AI thing down, right? Make it simple, make it easy for us to understand, and also make it easy for us to leverage this amazing tool that can either be your super supporter or your critical risk, because it may take your job, as people like to, yeah, it will take your job if you don't take its job, so to say. So let me quickly add my slides to the deck, if you can help me in the back end do that, because I have some things to go through. Yes, so right. So let me just give a kind of context. Why all the hype? Why all the excitement about AI? Right? Who can answer that question? You guys can think about it. Why all that excitement? Because when I ask people when I do my talks, right? I think we may need to read to the back end. When I ask people, I say, what is the reason why this AI thing has gone crazy? I start off with, when did AI start as a profession or as a field? Maybe Jeffrey or David can answer, can help us. When did AI start?
Jeffrey, do you want to go?
Jeffrey is still
You go
muted.
first.
Okay, sorry. I muted you now. Go ahead.
David, you go first.
Oh, okay. So why all the hype about AI? I think this is once in a lifetime opportunity or shift in technology like we've ever seen. And for this technology, it's different from all the technologies that we've seen before. We are actually modeling intelligence. So there is some excitement around it. There's some fear. There's some skepticism coming around it, and yeah, all these are valid reasons to be excited or to be scared about because we've never seen something of this magnitude or something like this before. So, um, but one thing I would say it's nothing to be scared about. It's something to kind of like familiarize yourself with or something to adopt. And if you happen to use AI day to day, you would benefit from it rather than it being it replacing you. So I personally think the IP is valid, but the fears are a bit too pronounced, I would say.
Yeah, so yes, I'm going to agree with David on this. I think that the reason for the current hype is because a lot of people currently are seeing the significance of AI being used in different domains, right? So people are really scared. At the same time, they're really intrigued and surprised by the performance of such systems, how such systems can provide results in less than a second and really, really good results. So it's scary. The implication of such technology is really significant, but at the same time, it's also scary. So it makes people quite scared, makes people quite confused on how this technology is going to influence their life as they move forward, how it's going to influence their business, how it's going to influence their employment opportunities while they move forward in their career. So yeah, it's a very valid hype because it's revolutionary technology. But I don't know what we can do about the fear. Really. I think you're muted.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was muted. So I was saying yes. I think the hype is kind of okay. There's echo going on. Hype is kind of justified, but AI itself started around the 1940s, right? Alan Turing and stuff, breaking the Enigma
Yes.
code and all of that. So people don't realize that this thing has been on for a very long time. It is algorithmic AI that has been popular. Algorithmic in the sense that you give it instructions, right? The decision tree, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and that kind of builds out and it's gone super advanced. You have training models and stuff. But the other school of thought, which is more generative AI, the one that says the AI should work the way the brain works, never kicked off until 2017. It really, really kicked off when I mean I'll throw some names here: Jeffrey Hinton and those other top godfathers of AI, inventing back propagation in 1986. You have the invention of the transformer in 2017, right? And then
Yes.
from there, there's data like in abundance from the internet. And then there is also, they discovered that to train AI, the best tool to use is not a CPU, it's actually the same tool used to play video games, which is a GPU. And of course, the company that produces it in mass is NVIDIA. And as far as I'm concerned, they're the only ones that have made money in this thing, AI, serious money. NVIDIA has moved from $20 billion valuation to 3 point something trillion, or is it 4 trillion now? Who knows? So I think to summarize for everybody, well, the hype for AI is simply because AI has cracked something fundamental, I think. It has cracked language. So AI has cracked language. And for me, if it has cracked language in the sense that we have a new programming language in town called English, you go and describe it in detail, and then you get what you want by speaking English. But then we now discover we don't speak English very well. We don't give instructions very well. We now have to start learning how to give those instructions. So one of the top AI researchers, or one of the top people in Nigeria, I think both of you are really pioneering stuff. So if you can you introduce yourselves to us, please? Let's start with Jeffrey. Jeffrey, if you introduce yourself, tell us what you do, give us some deeper insights in where your AI superpower comes from.
Okay, I'm very interested in the AI superpower, but I'll get there. All right, so my name is Jeffrey Otoiwi. I'm a medical doctor. I'm an AI researcher, engineer, and consultant. My work lies at the intersection of clinical intelligence, multilingual natural language, and of course, enterprise AI automation. My current goal is to build my current goal is to ensure that Africa owns AI technology really through building culturally aligned and cost-effective AI systems for the diverse African languages that exist in this very beautiful continent. All right, and the reason my focus is on this is we realize that the West train these models using a different technology, a different technique that might not favor Africa in terms of cost. And so we're really interested in digitalizing the languages that exist in Africa. And so that led to our paper called Sabian. We released our first model called Sabian about a year ago, which did well in about 8 Nigerian languages. Currently, I also do consulting. I'm the head of AI at 2 startups, Above Health Limited and Omali Groups. My current role requires that I build AI systems that are very, very robust to all patients' needs. So patient monitoring, patients, bridging the gap between patients and doctors, helping doctors document while they speak to their patients during telemedicine, and all those kinds of things, just to improve efficiency in that digital health space. So that's a summary about what I do.
It's very long, very long. As in, you're doing so many things. I don't know how. Do you have more than 24 hours in a day? How do you do this? But anyway, we'll come back to that. Obviously, as I said, superpower. So, David, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm Dave. I'm David. Um, I am an applied AI engineer and a consultant as well, and I've helped a number of startups to build AI products. Some of them, their names are Lighttable AI. Another is Flow Research Collective, and Sienna Analytics as well. So my job is basically building the product side with AI, and I've also been contributing on the open source side with contributions in products in popular tools like Pydantic AI, Instructor. At Instructor, I am one of the top contributors, and Instructor is also being used in over 4 million projects monthly. So I've also been contributing to the local side as well and trying to push research with Sabian alongside Jeffrey and others. And just like Jeffrey also mentioned, we released a model last year, and it bested the likes of GPT-4 and Llama 2, which are the big players, right, in local uh, regional benchmarks. So I'm excited to be here to talk about AI, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, yeah, excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Just confirm that I'm online. So I think I would like us to go into some use cases. Let's say Africa use cases. I know a lot of us watching and a lot of us online already have an ChatGPT. I don't think anyone in this earth hasn't heard of ChatGPT. So I'm taking it that everybody is using it, but I see people using it more like Google, an extension of Google search. They're using it for single shots, just one simple things, right? People don't realize that the context window is huge. And by context window, I mean you could ask it a massive question, like 100 pages of something, 100-page question that includes attachments and PDFs and everything. It's almost like you're giving this thing work to do. So there's a skill set around prompt engineering and stuff, but I don't want to talk about that here. What I want to go through is case studies. Can you pick some case studies and let's go deeper into, okay, what solutions have you provided, or what solutions has someone provided for African businesses that is really transforming how we work in Africa? Jeffrey, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So before I start, I would like to say that a lot of people would believe that AI started with the typical ChatGPT LLMs. Fortunately, most use cases of AI in African business are actually they actually do not use this ChatGPT or the DeepSeek. They make use of even smaller and very intelligent models, right? And so that has led to even more cost-effective and more profit marginalizing use cases. So let's go deep into how AI is being used in African businesses. If you do research, you will see that we have about four major areas where AI is being used in African businesses. So the first is in financial services. I mean, there's been an influx of a lot of money into the financial world in Africa. I think about 40% of venture funding are towards financial technology services, right? And so we can see the development or the you see a lot of startups coming up from different parts of Africa for this same thing. So, for example, just in Nigeria, we have different banks. We have different banks like GT Bank, Zenith Bank, setting up different systems. So there's one that was done by Wema Bank called Alert that tries to prevent fraud transactions, right? Prevent fraud transactions. And because of that system, they were able to save 90%. They were able to circumvent 90% loss due to fraud, just because of a simple system as the Alert platform. We also have different. We also have a particular startup from Morocco that has created the services where they look at people's transactions, their airtime services, their utility bills, and they use it to come up with very simple credit scoring systems so that people can actually lend these small businesses money, right? So in trying to save, in trying to, they realize that a lot of times small scale businesses do not have access to the banks for loans. And in fact, the loan process is a very tedious process where banks have to collect collateral or ask you to do a lot of paperwork before they actually would even turn you down. So to save that process, they come up with very simple things in everyday lives of people. Who do you speak with? Do you buy airtime? How is your utility bill like? Do you pay them regularly? How is your transactions like? What's the amount of money coming into your account? What's the amount of money going out of your account? So they make use of all those things, they study all those things, and they use it to build very predictive models that can even help give these small businesses access to microloans. There's another example of that in Nigeria called Fair Money. Fair Money also did something very, very similar. It created that same system we used to build credit scoring system to offer lending services to small and medium-sized businesses in Nigeria. Now, the second area where I think that AI is being used in Africa is in customer support. In fact, this is a very big field in Africa right now. Customer support, customer service, and this is where ChatGPT is really used because those guys, those models are really good at just talking and conversing and actually calming you down. Like, oh, I'm sorry for that, and all those things. So, and they realize that with the integration of AI into customer support, they have saved about 30 to 70% on wait time alone, right? They've improved customer satisfaction and they've been able to reduce the time patient customers would wait to actually get to see a live agent. So what this means is that they've improved the operational efficiency in that regard, and now the live agents have enough time to actually focus on the very very heavy and important tasks that they would need to solve, which is a really, really, really good thing. We see this all over Africa. We see this in South Africa, in South African banks. We see this in Kenya. We see this in Ghana. We are seeing this in Nigeria. Most importantly, Nigeria, in fact, is responsible for I think maybe more than 50% of the financial services and the use of AI in financial services is that good.
Wow.
Now,
Oh.
yeah. So the third
So
is
Nigeria is ahead of quite a few. I'm surprised that 50%. You think? Interesting.
yeah, we have
Okay.
a lot. In fact, you'll be shocked by the amount of financial services coming out of Nigeria for different reasons,
Yeah.
right? So the third area is also healthcare, and for healthcare we have different organizations working with AI. In fact,
Okay,
I think
before we go to healthcare, I'd like to bring David in. So healthcare. So Jeffrey has kind of broken down financial services, right? You've talked about Fair Money. You've talked about Access Banks a lot. You've talked about even in Morocco them using financial application of what was it in Morocco again? You said
yeah,
they're using
simple transactions, utility bills,
utility bills and stuff.
recharges. Yes,
That's enhanced with AI. Now,
yes,
what I see is some people a startup will just come and say they're doing X, right? And this is to you, David. And they now add AI to it just to increase the valuation. Are we sure that there's AI inside it? But anyway, David, what's your experience has been like, as in real solutions provided for African businesses and that you've been involved in and others that you know about? David.
Right. Okay. So, um, my involvement has been mainly in the US. So I wouldn't say I've had a lot of involvement within African businesses, but I'll point out a few things I see that work very well in both AI use cases and AI use cases in Africa. And one of them is automation. For example, there's this company in Kenya called MTBA, and MTBA, what they do is insurance claims, and they were able to cut down insurance claims from 90 days to hours, and which is insane because it's like someone needs insurance support to do healthcare, and they have to initially wait for 90 days, but now all they just have to do is wait for a few hours to get those insurance claims validated for them, which it helps in healthcare as well. It helps in all the domains like car insurance and all the domains, right? So that's one point. And our day-to-day businesses, for example, we can now automate our day-to-day processes in minutes, right? For example, the Christmas season's coming now, and we may want to send Christmas notes or wish well cards to all of our customers. Now we can actually automate this process of personalizing, hyper personalizing it to the customer's needs within minutes. So, which back a few years ago, even last year, you will need to have contracted a few designers to do these things for you. But now you can do it within minutes, right? So, one use case that I worked on and with a company in the US called Lightable AI, and after our work together, this company raised over $6 million in seed fund. We were able to use automation and AI to flag out issues within architectural plans. So we have we get the spec documents from engineers, from the mechanical, plumbing, and the engineer and the electrical, and we are able to flag issues in buildings before those buildings are being constructed, and this can save over millions of dollars, right? In if those issues were not caught early. So all these things have been use cases where automation played a huge advantage or unfair advantage, if I want to say, using AI. And in terms of hyper personalization, too, there are companies like ULesson. ULesson is actually a Nigerian company. ULesson, Mshule, that have made learning or studying as a student easy and personalized. Now you have a private tutor on your mobile phone that can answer questions for you, that can guide you through your homework, your assignments. So all this I've made, and the cost at which you can get all of this done is very minimal. So these use cases are immense, and the opportunity scale with AI is just incredible.
All right. You said the cost is not that expensive. I know it's going to start going up when they realize they've spent billions and billions and they're not making a return. That's just
Right.
the LLMs, large language models, the ChatGPT, the OpenAI, the Microsoft themselves, the Google Gemini, the Anthropic, Claude, and stuff. They're spending billions and billions. So everybody needs to take advantage. So, Jeffrey, apart from your healthcare use cases, can you just give us some advice as to how people can leverage AI in a cheap way? They can do one or two simple things that saves a lot of time for their businesses. Something practical that they can do.
Yeah. So but yeah, I think that's a very, very interesting question, because we've seen that 95% of businesses who actually start out saying, I want to use AI, I want to use AI, they actually fail. And we've also seen that about 75%, they never left proof of concept. So after proof of concept, the project was just abandoned. And a lot of times, I think is due to the fact that some people just want to ride with the AI hype. There's really no business need for the AI integration into their workflow, but they just want to ride it and maybe use it to get more investors and get more funding. Right. So I think that the first thing that must be done, especially in the African market, is to certainly identify a specific gap that can be solved using AI. Right. If that gap cannot be solved using AI, there's no point integrating AI into it. Now, once that gap has been identified, the next question you really want to ask is, do I actually need to use models like ChatGPT or DeepSeek to solve this business problem? Right? Because I can bet that 7 to 8 out of 10 times, you don't need things like ChatGPT to solve that problem. You need the simpler AI models to make for predictive modeling, to do data analytics for you, to recommend products to people. You need just the basic ones, like models that can actually work offline, that you won't necessarily need an API call. Models that are lightweight, right? So after identifying this, the next question you must then ask yourself is, can I measure the impact of this AI system when I actually put it out there for my customers to use, right? Is it measurable? If it is not measurable again, it means that you would end up spending time on something that might not, you won't be able to tell if it actually worked or actually generated revenue for you or not, right? So is it measurable? If yes, if it is actually measurable, the next thing to do is to then create a baseline for measuring that metric. right? So for a lot of people, for example, a typical example is in the banking sector. They might say, okay, we have a lot of customers. First of all, we would like to segment our customers into based on their user behavior. And now we would like to recommend our different financial products to these different customer segments, right? So the question is, how do we measure that? So typical example of how we measure that is okay, how long does a user spend engaging with the financial products that we've eventually recommended to them? How many clicks are we having? How many users have actually engaged with that financial product or even bought into that financial product? So that's how you measure it. So the reason why this is important is every time you start up with an AI software or integration of AI into your systems, once you create a baseline, you'll be able to measure the amount of possible revenue that you're going to get from it. And if you're not making enough revenue from it, you can quickly close down that idea and move on to the next. So these things must be put in place. Now, the last thing is a lot of people worry about, okay, I want to do a customer support, I want to do customer service, I want people to be able to chat with my business when I'm not there. Well, that is fine, right? So that's really fine. So for those set of businesses that are actually looking into putting AI into customer support, customer services, they should be interested in weighing the balance between using models from the West and actually deploying their own models, right? 9 out of 10, maybe not nine, maybe 7 out of 10, you would actually need to make use of those models because they are cheaper. The next question you want to ask is, does this really capture the language diversity that exists in my country? Which is one of the problems that Africa currently faces, right? We realize that a lot of businesses in Africa do not have market access to certain people, not because not because necessarily those people don't have the money to pay for the services, but just because the technology required to reach those people have not yet been built, or they've been built, but the performance of those such technology is pretty poor. So, classical example, it might be difficult for ChatGPT to work with a business that whose customer base is maybe people from Efik or people from Urobo, right? Why? And those people don't know how to read and write, and maybe you wanted to just tap into small and medium scale businesses in the south, and so well, those people don't know how to read and write. So how do you get to them? So you would need to work with technologies that built have robust performance for such services. So I think that's
Mm.
about how I'll go about making businesses work in Africa.
So this is really great, and that brings to the points that I think there's echo coming from someone. If you can mute the other side there. So that brings to the points that look, AI that we're using today is built with a market focus, and the market is America and Europe mainly. Asia is building theirs because they realize that they're building theirs, they're putting the nuances of Asia and stuff in it. So DeepSeek, if you want to do anything Chinese, don't use ChatGPT, don't use Anthropic, and so use DeepSeek. Anything, even those that use DeepSeek use Anthropic, and so we use DeepSeek because it has all the nuances of China and the behavior, the culture, and stuff. What is Africa's story? What are we doing in Africa to really make it AI for Africa? Now, Africa is, I wrote a book with 11 authors, right? And when we were writing the book, why 11 authors? The name of the book is Destination Facilitation. So what we're trying to do is say, okay, if you're a facilitator going to a destination, you should know the culture of that destination before you go and facilitate. So we had somebody that did the Egypt chapter, the UK chapter, we had the US chapter, we had all sorts of country chapters. And then they asked me to write the Africa chapter. I'm like, Africa is a continent. How will I write the Africa chapter? You're giving me a whole continent. You're giving everybody different countries and they say write the Africa chapter. I said, well, first of all, Nigeria on its own has like 500 languages. Nigeria, one country out of the 54, has 500 languages. The diversity in Africa is huge, but we have to be frank here. We don't make money. We are not rich. Africa is not rich. So that is why we are ignored. And let me be very blunt. That's why we're ignored. And that's why we kind of borrow the technologies from others. But This stage, I hope, is going to change because we're going to borrow some of the technology, but then localize it. And just what Jeffrey is saying, you're doing a product for some people in certain places that only barely speak English, speak their language. Do we have an AI that can speak Chibok? Right? Everybody knows the Chibok. I mean, it was popularized, unfortunately, by the unfortunate incident, but it's a language. Who speaks Chibok? As in, if you teach kids in Chibok, their primary education will be so much better, and they will probably need to only learn English as a language. By the time they get to secondary school, they know all the concepts and they know English as well. So there's so much opportunity. Unfortunately, you won't make too much money with it, but guess what? It will reduce the cost of taking Africa out of where it is into something wonderful. So question to David and Jeffrey, what are we doing about this Africa project? Are you guys working on any project related specifically to Africa, languages and stuff that you can talk about? David, you want to go?
Yeah, I can go. So
All right.
yes, right. You brought up very good points. The harness of building AI is very expensive, and we've seen that challenge, like trying to in our own efforts to push AI within Africa and Nigeria as well. And we tell ourselves this: if you build AI that is cheap for Africa, you've built AI for the world. Not only will Africans subscribe to you, but the entire world will come looking out for you to invest in you as well. And in our little efforts, we decided to go about making research around building a language model for Nigerian languages. And the model is called Sabian. Sabian was our little effort in trying to push language diversity or language digitalizing Nigerian languages. And we covered about 8 languages. And we also bested the likes of the models from the West, right? Our little model, which is very tiny in size, was doing very well than the big models from the West, right? In our local regional benchmarks. So there is need to um, to invest in African AI, right? And our efforts have also led us to publish or to how will I say? I would say our efforts made us recognized at the ACL convention in Vienna this year, and where we presented our paper on Sabian. Sabian is a very, in terms of size compared to the other models from the West, it's basically a microchip, right? We call it a small language model. And this small language model, our efforts from Jeffrey being the lead scientist of this, to myself working on the data side, and other members that are listed on our paper, we were able to push this language opportunity for Nigeria. But we are not limiting it to just Nigeria. We are trying to go beyond and involve other African languages as well, and cover and have like a whole, I would say, trying to capture into a capsule African languages, so that we are not left out of this digital colonization, I would say. So my we how did we get all this data to make use of? We made sure of getting like publicly available data and publicly licensed data that's permissible for commercial use. So which means our model, Sabian, can be used for commercial purposes. Businesses in Nigeria can use it within their systems with no copyright flagging or legal jurisdiction preventing them from using it. And we also want to involve the larger community as well, not just us doing this, but encourage other Nigerians to get involved into this, because we want our languages to be captured, right? I was proud when my language, Urobo, was part of the training set of what we did, right? So, and this is an effort that we can just do on our own. We need assistance from the government, from the African Union, from other places to support this right that we're trying to um, put Africa out there in
the world. Yeah, super stuff. So Jeffrey, if I know probably people can contribute, especially around data labeling, right? So the data labeling side of things for African languages would be very critical. Can you tell us technically what you guys are doing, the Serbian bit? I don't know if you have a small demo for us that we can kind of share and play to understand what it is you're doing and how people can be involved, because I strongly believe we need to have an Africa story, or else our story will never get told. To just be the general stuff out there instead of giving those specifics, because nobody's going to invest in robo AI, right? Or effect AI, or Hausa AI, because they don't think they're going to make money. For a story about Nigeria, people didn't want to invest in telco. They didn't want to bring a mobile network to Nigeria. One very top mobile company said, "Oh, it's not worth it." And they've been struggling to come into Nigeria ever since. Of course, the billions of dollars people have made. So it's a good secret. We can basically build it. So Jeffrey, do you have like a demo, or do you want to show us something around what you guys have done?
Yeah. We have a demo. I think it's going to be shared as we speak. I think it should be shared as we speak right now, David.
Okay. So let's have a look. Let's look at the demo. Let's quickly look at the demo. We'll come back.
So here we see that we're able to build several versions of these models for different use cases. We realize that a lot of Nigerian companies would like to analyze data to classify them into different topics like sports, business, entertainment. We also realize a lot of businesses are also looking for technologies that requires translation between different Nigerian language, including interlanguage translation. So from Hausa to Igbo, from Igbo to directly to Yoruba, from Yoruba directly to Hausa and stuff like that. We also identified certain other businesses that would want to use such services to do run analysis, sentimental analysis on text data. So that led to what we have built so far. Really, we plan to expand it. We learned a lot from this current version of Sabian. The first lesson was that the amount of available public data for just Nigerian languages is really, really small, like very small, and it is contaminated. If you're not careful, you just end up training on the wrong things. That's the first thing that we learned. We also learned that based on the advancement of AI research from the West, we could actually get our models to function at a very using a very small hardware resource requirements, like less than maybe 2 GB of RAM, right? So it has led to us working for the next version. It has led to us combining both technologies from DeepSeek, technologies from Meta, to build our own in-house model architecture that we're going to be using to build the next version of Sabia. We are also exploring augmented data generation and quality assurance, because even after we have gotten all this data, we need to be able to access and quantify this data in terms of, okay, how fluent is this data set for Yoruba, for Swahili? How adequate is it? Does it speak like does the text, does it look like someone, a native speaker, would actually write this kind of text, or it's more like robotic, right? What is the cultural context of these languages that exist? It's one of the problems we have. Most data sets are just plain Yoruba data sets. They don't really capture cultural diversity in Nigeria. So, for example, they don't necessarily have idiomatic expressions. If you're talking to a Yoruba man, you get all those expressions. Omo, ah, ye, ah. Those kind of small things that really represents, right? Really represents the typical Yoruba man. Even in English, I think Nigerians will give life to English language. So you still see that even with the English data set, it doesn't capture culturally the way the Nigerian would speak, the way the Nigerian would mix or describe things in English just to give some life and maybe some flavor to the English language. So those are the things that we are looking at, we are working on, trying to get quality on the data set that's being generated, trying to also integrate these cultural complexities that exist for the different cultures in Nigeria and beyond in Africa. So that's what it is. The major said, and the reason why this project is very important, people don't see this project as important, is right now everybody's paying in dollars using ChatGPT. Everybody's paying in dollars, and you would see that it might become very difficult to actually track. Am I making profit from this AI service that I'm integrating to the West? Am I making profit? Because for every little thing, $0.1 has left your account. Just send one text message, $0.2 has left your account. So $0.2 is maybe like 400, 200, 300 naira for just maybe a bunch of text messages. And so you will start to see that, am I really making money from this technology? So I'm just wasting my time. Is it just a beautiful feature that I have to draw people in, or am I actually making money from this technology? And that's what we want to solve. We want Africans to migrate from using such APIs to using the ones built in-house. And we plan to make a lot of our models publicly available to start with before we even build the final one where we plan not to charge in dollars, right? So that's our approach to it. And secondly, Africa needs to own technology. Right now, as we speak, there is an average civil servant in the Nigerian government using ChatGPT, exposing the data, sensitive data from Nigeria to ChatGPT. And somebody in America is collecting it and analyzing it and saying, okay, this is what Nigeria is up to right now. So there's a cybersecurity problem associated with this technology. So that's why whoever actually advances the AI technology actually controls national security. And so these are some of the problems that we have to handle. If you can own your model, it means you can govern your model, you can govern your data, and so everything becomes important. This is in addition to solving the language complexity and the cost of using such AI technologies for businesses.
So I put up on the screen excellent feedback. Echo coming from you, Jeffrey. So I put on the screen. Africa Union seems to be doing something, right? They have the Continental Africa Artificial Intelligence Strategy that came out recently, harnessing AI for development and prosperity, right? So it's 66-page document, right? I think there's even a larger one that I saw recently, but this is July 2024. I'm not sure if this is the latest, but at least there is some document out there. I don't know if you have any linkages with the African Union, or if you know about what they're doing, or what you can say about their current strategy.
So yes, I've actually heard about this. I've gone through the documents. I think they have about 4 pillars, right, when it comes to their AI strategy for Africa for the next decade, right? So they are focusing on improving the talents within Africa. So how do they do this? They want to start AI education from primary school level to secondary school level. They are looking at getting AI, funding African AI researchers, trying to promote their ideas and their expertise. They're looking at also recruiting Africans in diaspora to also come help with the service. So that's one of the pillars. Second pillar is, I think, the policy and the regulatory framework. Even as much as they want AI to be built for Africa, they want to be able to control such development in terms of how transparent are these systems, how explainable are these systems, how secure are these systems, what is the bias as regard the system? Is it going to discriminate between the Yorubas and the Igbos? Is it going to discriminate between the Urhobos and the Swahilis? Right. So it's the framework they are also trying to consider. The third pillar is they're looking at the data and infrastructure framework. In this, they're looking at funding AI infrastructure for the AI development that is going to happen within Africa. So if we wanted to build a local AI model now, you wouldn't need to rent GPUs from the West or from China to actually train your models. No, you could easily just work with a data center within Africa to store your data and also train your models. So I think that's about. And the last is about funding. They realize that a lot of times AI startups are poorly funded right now. Startups are very, not just AI startups, technological startups are still poorly funded. And so they realize that, okay, if we can boost funding for this startup sector that involves AI in their workflow, then we can improve the integration of AI into businesses, into services, and all that.
Hmm. Quite interesting. David, do you want to add to that? So typically, what does Africa need to do? What are those critical things that we need to do to catch up?
Right. So I would say investment is one of the major thing that we need to have. We need to invest into AI. But just beyond investments, the education side is very important, right? You can be pumping money into something that people don't know how to use. So we need to have commitment. We need to have discussions like this, where we are educating people on how to use AI rightly, how to the best practices around using AI. For example, Jeffrey hinted on a good point where people working in the government could be using AI with Nigerian documents or Nigerian sensitive data, and which we shouldn't accept all of this. This shouldn't be something that is a norm in Nigeria, right? So we need to have education and teaching people how to use AI, and we also need to have um, well, this may be a huge ask, but the government also needs to engage with the local players, with the practitioners, right? People that are already doing this, they need to interact with the stakeholders and see how they can support the stakeholders, right? Because if we are to say that the government is doing their AI initiatives, the AI initiatives should be for the people, by the people, and with the people, right? So we want executives to be able to speak the language of AI with engineers, researchers, and engage them and see, okay, where do you need? Where are the shortcomings? Where can we come into and play? We can see the likes of the US, with, for example, with the Stargate project, where the government is pushing AI with investments of over $100 billion, right? We are not saying the government should do $100 billion of investment in AI, but with some investment should be done to support the local players and engage with them and uh, build a strategy, not just a government strategy, but a strategy that involves the local players, the strategists, the scientists, and we can all move together towards a direction that benefits the entire Africa.
Yeah, super stuff. I think that's very, very critical. And Jeffrey, you want to add stuff to that? Please go ahead.
Yeah. In addition to what David has said, I mean, probably just 5 countries in Africa have a national AI strategy. I think Kenya, Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa. The rest, really, we have nothing, right?
So Nigeria has most of our audience will be Nigerian.
That's an AI
Nigeria has a
strategy.
strategy.
Yeah, it came out. I don't know what is it. I don't know the content of the strategy, but it exists. I think it was done. They had a meeting last year, and they came up with a national AI strategy that also involved AI education. Because I believe that we don't have money in Africa. Right, the rate of technical adoption in Africa is also pretty poor. Not just for AI, just for normal technology. I mean, you can have a financial technology service, and you find it difficult to penetrate Lagos, right? So technical adoption is poor. Purchasing power is also poor. So it means that one of the things that we must focus on is not just in education and upskilling, but in research and development. Because I believe that is in through research and development that we can come up with really cost effective and very efficient models. Just the way DeepSeek did and shocked the West, shocked US when they built out ChatGPT. The difference was there was a policy that reduced the exportation of AI chips to China. So now this constraint forced China to think about better ways to make use of the resources that they have to build something even more efficient and lightweight. And so they were able to come up through research and development, we were able to build DeepSeek, and DeepSeek outperformed a lot of models built by the West.
Yes.
So yeah,
Uh,
so I think that's very
just
important.
to add something to what Jeffrey just said, I think we have an advantage here in Africa with in terms of the youth and the population, and just like in Nigeria now, where there is this initiative, the National Youth Service Corporation, and this people or this corp members are being sent all across the country, right? So the government could look at trying to engage these youths, these young people, to be data collectors all across the country, to go to places, go to villages, and now I understand insecurity is a problem right now, but regardless, people have been sent all across the country to go represent your country, to go serve for the country. So these people could be taught on how to help push the data initiative for Nigeria at least. If we're not doing for Africa, let's just do for Nigeria at least, and try to involve as many key players or as many people in trying to help the collective of gathering information or preserving our languages, the 500 languages you mentioned earlier, we need to preserve all of them. We need to make sure our children, the next generation, is able to speak the local dialect. So this is one of the considerations that I hope one day the government can seize it and try to do something around it.
Yeah, languages are dying every day. Every year, language dies. But we have so much diversity. This is a good way to almost store that knowledge and have that knowledge there for life. There's so many nuances that is in the language that you lose. Right, I mean, the English language is a still is is the best theft, what I call the best thief of ideas from other languages. If you look at the English language and what is taken from everywhere, and you now ascribe it to say, oh, this is English. I mean, even the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's Arabic. Arabic numerals is Arabia. If you want to write one in Arabic, write two, write three. You even see that that's where 1, 2, 3 came from, right? So much ascribed to other cultures. So how can everybody help? How can everybody? What advice do you have for the common person, the African? What can they do to basically take advantage of this new revolution and not be left behind? And then what can they do to also help build this new Africa LLM, this Africa AI, Africa centric AI? What can the ordinary person do? Any advice?
So yes, first I think the idea by that David just spoke about is really brilliant for this. I mean, it's a very cheap way to do this. So we already have youths rotating around the country. These people can serve as data collectors, right? Simple data collectors, serve to learn languages, collect manuscripts, because really in every state, I think there are linguistics institutions or departments. So they can help collect this data. At the same time, I think that we may not make a lot of progress until we Africans start to look at this as a collective problem and not as an individual problem. And once we do that, you would see that it would be very easy for anyone to contribute to the preservation of language technology. I mean, if you look at some of the systems that the West still used to today, is a Nigerian can be speaking Yoruba to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT will give two responses, and then it would say, pick the one that is best, pick the one that is preferred. Do you like this or do you not like this? So those are like very creative ways that we could come up with preserving our languages. At the same time, I would say that not everything should be solved using technology. I believe that people should also learn how to speak these languages to ensure that they continue to exist, right? And so what it means is that these languages must still exist for schools, right? And parents should still speak these languages to their children. That's the fact. That's the true fact of the matter. I mean, we have a generation that's already been westernized. They don't know how to speak their local languages. They already know, they only know how to speak English. That's not really good. And doesn't really help in terms of let's collect data for this language, let's try to preserve this language. It doesn't really help. So I think that on a local level, we should focus on linguistics, preservation, and development in these linguistic institutions that exist in the different states. And everybody should own the preservation of these languages by teaching it to the next generation. So as long as you can speak, you should teach it to the next generation.
Let me put Jeffrey and David on the spot. So what languages can you speak? David, how many languages can you speak?
Well, in my case, I don't know how to speak.
Speak the language, not just say you can speak this, speak it. Which one?
Well, Nigerian Pidgin.
Okay, make we speak Pidgin now. No, speak Pidgin now, make we hear. So Pidgin, Nigerian Pidgin. So Jeffrey, how many languages do you speak?
Well, my grab of languages is really small. I think I understand more than I can speak. I mean, I understand Yoruba to a good extent. Okay. I understand my language Isan to a good extent, but I think I find it.
Say one or two things in Isan for us, please.
Ekpalo.
Ekpalo. What does that mean?
It means I'm going.
Zentefi. So Zentefi is Hausa for I'm going. Inatefia, Zentefi. Okay, so at least Hausa, Ekpalo, the BBO, as in I don't know which other language, but I think you're right about languages, right? We need to speak it. And you know, growing up, we say, "Oh, start speaking vernacular." That's very raw way that people say it, but it's your language, right? English is a nice universal language for us that enables us to communicate with each other. But at the end of the day, we need to speak these languages to preserve it. And then hopefully AI will help preserve it as well and almost be that dictionary for us, that permanent dictionary for our languages. And yeah, so AI strategy, I'm glad that Nigeria, I haven't read the Nigerian AI report, I just put that up. And the National Artificial Intelligence Strategy came out in September. And then, of course, the Africa Union strategy. So yes, we have documentation. Action is what we need now. Action, action, action. And I would like to say a big well done to Jeffrey and David. Jeffrey, pronounce your surname for me very well so I can pronounce well.
Otuebi.
Oh, okay. Otuebi. So very close. So thanks to Jeffrey and thanks to David, who are in the frontiers of pushing this Africa agenda. While they're doing solutions for commercial purposes, they also understand that there is a need for an Africa-centric AI, that we need to kind of make an Africa-centric AI, because what will happen, and I think David touched on the point, is like recolonization. So you have AI and everybody's using ChatGPT. ChatGPT is trained on specific data, specific kind of people use it. So you're basically learning that culture. You're basically going to be recolonized digitally without even knowing. Right? That your languages will die, you're teaching your kids only English, all those cultural nuances will go. And that is what makes you rich. That's what makes culture rich, right? Hopefully, you won't stop forgetting how to make jollof rice when AI tells us jollof rice is made like this, and everybody now follows AI recipe. Then we now forget those specific. That hopefully that won't happen. So those are the kind of things. The slippery slope is a slippery slope to something else. So I look forward to you guys working on this, and also anybody else that watches this, or maybe you have connections to the Africa Union or other people that can help push this strategy forward. Let's get our own local small LLMs that can do stuff offline, not online, because all the AI right now is online. It can be offline, right? It can work directly offline, where you can do all sorts of wonderful stuff. When you go online, it kind of uploads online, right? So those are the Africa-centric solutions that Jeffrey and David are one of the people building it for us. So say big thank you to you guys for helping move this agenda forward and build this new AI for Africa. I don't know if you have a few last words for everybody. Unfortunately, we can't take questions. The platform seems not to be open for questions. So any last few words from you guys?
David, you want to go?
Sage advice.
Speak French.
Well,
I mean, you have started fluent in French, so you can speak French. It's an African language. Technically.
It's a colonial language.
Well, I would say, don't be misled by the fear about AI replacing you. Actually, get involved with it, use it. You can be replaced if you know how to use AI properly, and you also need to understand your languages too, and um, try to, as much as we are trying to move forward with this technology, try to localize it to yourself as well. Try to adopt um, Nigerian first technology, Africa first technology, as much as you can. And yeah, let's push this technology forward together.
Yes. And also, I think the path to the integration of AI into African businesses is not through the use of language technologies from the West. I believe that we have to own our technologies. Most importantly, like David has said, we need to make them offline. And we need to make them to work within the constraints of the typical businesses that we see in Nigeria, right? We need them to work offline. We want the farmer to be able to improve his yield through an offline chatbot, not an online chatbot. An offline chatbot that speaks his language, that can tell him about the climate, right? So this is what we are looking at. This is our vision for the project, and we will not stop till we build these small language models. We'll be releasing the next version of our model within the next 2 months. We're looking at January, the ending of January. This model is just going to be working within the constraints of Nigerian languages due to the amount of resources that we need to scale it up to support African languages. Meanwhile, we've been actively collecting data for about 30 African languages, right? And so we expect to do even more work next year.
That's wonderful, and
And
hopefully you come here for the launch of it. And I don't know if you are working with universities, the linguistic departments of universities, because that's technically where the language is supposed to sit, isn't it?
Yes, so we one of our team members is actually working with them to get even more data. But again, I would say that reaching out to a lot of linguistics institutions in Nigeria is actually pretty hard. And because there's also the aspects where you have to pay them to actually get them to do these things. And if that's a problem, then the flow of such information, the flow of such data that you need might be quite difficult. You have to settle somebody in Nigeria to actually get things to work work with. And so it's
It's a
a problem.
mentality shift. It's a mentality shift, right? David, you wanted to add something?
yeah, so I okay. Well, what I wanted to add to what Jeffrey already said was that well, I almost lost my chain of thought, but it was more around like oof, sorry. Maybe I'll come back to this.
Okay, you come back. You see, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's chain of thought. So it's AI. The AI has already gone forward. The context window has elapsed. You get? I understand.
Yeah.
He needs RAG now. You know, RAG. RAG is augmented generation to pull things out. I'm just kidding. So the thing, AI is exciting. I think one important thing I think everybody should do is get your hands on this thing. Get your hands on this thing. Practice, practice, practice. Play with it. Break it. Don't use it like Google search. Right? Pretend you're talking to a professor in your field.
Mhm.
And if you're talking to a professor in your field, you're going to download your issues. So download your issues and let's see how this thing works. I think the people that are going to really enjoy AI going forward are people with domain expertise. So please, you need to polish that domain. Don't say, oh, I know I'm a master of many things. Pick your niche. Become a master of that niche. Use the AI to even polish your mastery of that niche. Because when you're a domain expert and then you're using AI and AI lies, one thing nobody has said here, AI can lie. And AI is one of the best liars in the world. My God, it knows how to lie so well that if you're not a domain expert, you will not know when it's lying, right? You would absolutely
We call
not
it
know when
sweet
it's lying.
nonsense.
Yes, sweet nonsense. Yes, and so please try and polish your skill set, your domain expertise. Get AI to be there, your professor to teach you to that level, so that you can then use AI to do beautiful new things. Yes, AI is going to take your job now because your job needs to change to that amazing new thing that nobody has ever done. Now, if you're sitting down doing the same thing, you're at risk. Jump on this technology. Let's keep using the West technology as is now while building ours. That's what China did. China woke up after somebody beats their world champion in Go. you know them, but Asia. So the game of Go. So obviously, the first person to lose was to chess, Gary Kasparov, when algorithmic AI beat him in chess. And that's AI that basically has all the moves. It had crammed all the moves, let's say 1 million moves in its head. And then it beats the world champion in chess. And gradually that algorithmic AI kept getting better and better until generative AI really, really started kicking off in 2017. And then Google invented something called AlphaZero. Go check it out. AlphaZero means that you're going to start from zero. You're going to start, the AI will learn from the rules of chess. Let's use chess. You just learn the rules, and based on the rules, it will start playing itself and learning. That's called generative AI. It's learning on its own. That model played the best AI model, which is the other type of AI, algorithmic AI, and beat it hands down. It beat 100 games, I think it won 72. And that is AI from zero. And what Jeffrey is saying and what David is saying is that, look, we need our farmer in the village. I love your example. With the AI that is offline, that is filled with all sorts of goodies, that has the weather pattern details from last month. It updates every month. We don't need it to update every day. And then it advises him on what he should do, where he should farm, this and that. Amazing. On his phone, speaking Hausa, speaking Ibibio, speaking Efik, other languages, right? That is it. And nobody's going to build it but Africans. So join us, join Jeffrey, join David. Let's continue this conversation on how we can get Africa to wake up to use this new technology to transform the continent. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the next webinar. We're going to launch Sabian 2. Is it? What's the new version going to be called?
Yeah, Sabian 2.
You see, I'm in the spirit. Sabian 2. And then we'll hopefully launch it. We'll do a launch party here as well online, so everybody can start using it and contributing. And hopefully when you launch it, get us to, that thing you said ChatGPT does. Which one do you like? Make sure you do that for us too. Which one do you like, so that we can be training your model? Because by clicking, you're already training the model. So hopefully we'll be able to put that into your Sabian too. Looking forward to that. Thanks, everybody. And thanks to D Brown Consulting. Sorry, I didn't even mention the host. The host is D Brown Consulting. This is a webinar from D Brown Consulting, providing webinars on all sorts of topics around data, AI, and stuff for the world, and especially Africa and Nigeria in particular. Thanks to the team at the back end. And thanks again, Jeffrey. Thanks, David, for honoring our invitation. We look forward to transforming Africa together. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.